Welcome back to the party package. My name is Owen, and I am back to tell you all about the LA Kings this time. So, this is a team that has gone past its prime. This is a team out of its prime, and it's looking to the future, and the future, to me, isn't looking very good for them. Now, just looking at them at face value, last year they made it to the playoffs. And everyone says that everyone I hear talks about how they've got good young talent and they're all going to grow up and blah, 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 blah. Everything I look about at this team seems to scream to me second rate. And what I mean by that is looking at these guys. So you got Kevin Fiala, just traded in 85 points. Great player. Great player. Of course he is. Great player. You've got a guy they got in, Trevor Moore. They brought in Trevor Moore, 49 points. That's great. That's great. Look at that. Arvidsson, 49. You got Kempe re-signed 54 points. Byfield, who's third overall pick, third or second. Who cares? Great. He's great. The problem with this team is that everything about them is built around second-line, second-rate players to me. So, first let's talk about the good before the bad, because that's what we do here. So the good news about this team is that overall, I'd say they've got some pretty good depth. Looking down the lineup, you got Grundstrom and Lazard, Lemieux, Kaliev, Byfield, Iafallo. I mean, those bottom six players, it's not bad. It's not the worst in the world. I mean, it's pretty decent, especially if guys like Byfield and Kaliev and Iafallo can grow, Grundstrom and Lazard can grow, and Lemieux stays just hitting and whatever, being a menace to society. As long as they keep doing that, I guess, who cares? And the other good news about this team is that they're young. This team's young. I mean, that's what I just had to say about them. That's what everyone says, that this team is young. They got Kaliev, you got Lazar, you got Byfield, you got Velarde somewhere, you got Iafallo, Grundstrom, you got Trevor Moore. You guys got growing up. These guys are going to grow up for the next dynasty of the LA Kings. The problem with that is that take a look at Quinton Byfield, who's been in the NHL for, I think, is it 2 years now? He got drafted not last season. Was it? No. Was it last season? No, last season was Owen MIIraculously's draft. The year before that was them. So yeah, this is Byfield's second time being in pros. And he only got 10 points this year in 40 games. Figure it out. He only got 10 points in 40 games. He played half an NHL season and got only 10 points, and it was a -7 overall. Not very good for your great young prospect who's supposed to be your big next your first-line center, the big power forward brute. Not very good looking right now. Look at Kaliev, 27 points. Like, this team, to me, screams second-line player. Now, what's even worse is their defense. This is a team of washed-up... Well, two of them are washed up. The other ones are just not underperforming, just not very good. You got Mikey Anderson, a young guy who's not even signed yet. He only got 8 points this year. You got Drew Doughty, who's clearly on the decline. Clearly going down the path of declining and at the end of his career. Roy, 21 points. One of those defensemen that teams pick up every once in a while, like the Senators or something, and no one cares about, is never going to be on a winning team. If you got Matt Roy on your team, you're just not going to be a winning team. Sean Walker, 2 points. His deal is that he's big and tall, so I guess whatever. Jersey, 27 points. Actually pretty good. I like Jersey. I think he's going to be a solid defenseman one day, but not on this team. He's a good second-line pairing defenseman. Everything about this team is second line, and I keep saying that, and you're like, it's getting annoying. But listen, take a look at Kevin Fiala. What does Kevin Fiala need? How did he get 85 points last year? He played alongside Kirill Kaprizov, who got 100-plus points this year, set a new record for the Minnesota Wild. That's the type of player Kevin Fiala is. He is not the type of player that's going to drive his own offense. He's not going to be the guy that pushes the offense forward for his team. This guy is a guy that needs that main centerman or that main winger, that guy, that McDavid, that Kirill Kaprizov, that Draisaitl, that Goudreau, that type of player that is the one that pushes the offense forward, passes you the puck, and then you make the play, or you get the puck, and they're so good that you can make the pass to them, and then they go and score. Kevin Fiala needs that main other top guy. He is a second. He's not a duo player. He's not a dynamic duo player. He is a secondary to the main attraction type player. He's the B, and someone needs an A. Now, the thing about it is that Anze Kopitar used to be that guy, and he's not anymore. Anze Kopitar is on his way out. He's on the second to last year of his $10 million deal. That's a whole other story as well. Is that this team, you got Kempe, he's not the type of guy that's going to do that either. They need that main center. If the Kings, now this is where I propose how to fix the problem. The Kings on offense are kind of pretty well built, but not amazing. This isn't a go far in the playoffs, top of the league offense, but it could be good enough to get past with a team that's got a great defense and goaltending, which this team doesn't really have either. Defense, literally terrible. Alexander Adler and Matt Roy on the same team. I mean, that just spells disaster for any team. Jonathan Quick's slowly getting out of it. He's actually still putting up pretty good numbers, so good for him. I like Jonathan Quick. I always have. Cal Peterson, he's not very good numbers, actually. I bet they wish they would have traded him instead of Jack Campbell, but that's a whole other thing as well. This team is just not good enough to make it for the future. Now, at least this year. For the future, though, I don't see this team doing much well either anyways. Because say next year Kopitar finally starts breaking out. Say he gets only 40, 30 points. Let's say he gets 50 points this year and drops down to the 30s next year, and then he finally retires. Then what happens? You finally clear up $10 million. If I was to put myself in charge of the GM position of the LA Kings this year, I would try, because obviously you've got your prospects here. You've got your young guys. You got Fiala, Kempe, Arvidsson, Moore, Iafallo, Kalia, Byfield. All these guys are young and talented and can grow, and they're pretty good to build a team around. The thing is that they need a superstar player to put them in that next level. That Anze Kopitar, Crosby-like player, the great centerman that'll elevate Fiala and Kempe's game. And that type of player is kind of hard to trade for. That isn't a type of player that you're going to be able to trade for without giving up a lot of stuff. And a lot of teams don't want to trade away their Sidney Crosby type player. So this team, if I was in charge, what I would do is put Kopitar on the second line, put Deneau in the third, and put Byfield on that top line and see at least the start of the season and see if he can go with it. If Byfield can run with it, or if he fails, that could really drop down his value. Or you trade away a Quinton Byfield and you try to bring in a better player or a better couple of players to legitimately make this team a solid offensive team. But then you still got the problem of Kopitar and Doughty's contracts. So if I was in charge, I'd get rid of those two guys. Just like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews in Chicago, I would get rid of those guys, clear up those contract spaces, and try to bring in someone else. Try to bring in the new version of Anze Kopitar, which is supposed to be Byfield. So, I mean, I guess fingers crossed that he does turn into that type of player. But just from 10 points in 40 games, and I know he's young, and yes, I know, he's only 19. But there's been a lot of other players that have shown off that in their, at least early years, can get better than 10 points in 40 games. And at least do something special, maybe not put out amazing points, but at least show off that they do have the skill to perform at a superstar level. And Byfield, for me, has not shown that off yet, and especially not to an Anze Kopitar level of player. So, where do I see the LA Kings this year? Do they make it to the playoffs? I would say absolutely not. I would say no chance in hell that they make it. There's too many teams that have a better chance. They got too many. In the Pacific, you've already got pushed out by the Oilers, the Flames. You've got pushed out by the Ducks this year, potentially. And now you also have to worry about the Golden Knights finally resurging this year, and that's already 4. And I'm sure there's probably going to be a team like the Jets or Nashville that can push them out in the Central Division. So they're not going to make it to the playoffs at all. I see them ending up in the middle. I bet this team ends up in like 18th place or 20th place, where they're like just outside a playoff spot, and they're like, man, what do we do for next year? Well, it's going to be hard. What are you going to do with Kopitar's contract? Trade his contract away, sign someone new in the free agency? That's what I would have done this season before his value drops too much this year. What if his numbers go down to 40 points? No one's going to want to pick him up. Then you've got a dead contract on your hands. So there's too many problems with this team for me to say that they're going to do good this year. Next year's probably going to be another bad year because you got Kopitar's contract weighing you down. You got Quicks and Doughties. It's going to be hard for them to move on to the future. I'd say in 2 or 3 years, when they finally get rid of those contracts, they're going to light up, maybe. That's a maybe. Then their guys got to show that they can prove to be those guys. Or they're going to sink, like I keep saying. I think they're second-line players at best. And you can't really build a team around second-line players. You got to get some of those superstars in there. So I guess that's all I have to say about them today. So if you like this video, also, if Coach Dan is watching this, LA Kings, I don't care if the Kings suck this year because I've got my allegiances set. So I guess until next time, please pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button, then hitting a little ding bell that pops up next to it. If you like this video, leave a like, not a dislike. You can go down below to the comment section and leave any suggestions, feedback, reviews, comments, concerns, or any sort of tangents, rants, and opinions you'd like to leave. And tell me, do you think the LA Kings make it to the playoffs, or do they start to sink, and do those contracts weigh them down? Do Kopitar, Doughty, and Quick regress this year? And things are going to go downhill quick for the LA Kings. So I guess until next time, thank you for watching. I have been the party. Too sweet, and ta-ta for now.